Now let me turn to Sir Roger Gale MP, the Member of Parliament for North Thanet and President of the Conservative Animal Welfare Foundation. Sir Roger, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, as you've just heard, Conservative voters are strongly opposed to trophy hunting and overwhelmingly support a ban on trophy imports. Why do you suppose that is?
I'm not remotely surprised by the findings, because the Conservative Animal Welfare Foundation and the Conservative Environmental Network have been attracting huge support across the board for environmental policies generally. Conservatives believe in looking after the world that we live in, that our children and our grandchildren are going to grow up in. It always used to be said within the Conservative Party of farming that you should live as if you're going to die tomorrow and farm as if you're going to live forever. Well, this has gone beyond farming to the whole of the rest of the natural world that we live in. And we have to look after that world as if we're going to live forever. And if we don't, then it won't be us, but it will be our children and our grandchildren that will pay a terrible price. And that's why I think Conservatives do feel very strongly indeed about this.
And if I could just ask you personally, why do you believe that this particular issue is such an important one and that the government should move to stop imports of hunting trophies?
We're losing endangered species, proud animals in the wild at a terrifying rate. If we don't do something about this now, actually yesterday, then the only big beasts left will be in zoos. Nobody wants that. We've already seen species brought to the verge of extinction. We still just have the opportunity to do something about that. And I think the concept to any Conservative of the idea that it is proper, in order, acceptable in a modern, decent world to pay to fly to another country, go out into the wild, and with help from others, have lined up animals to then be murdered is appalling. And the way to stop that, or part of the way to stop that, is to prevent the import into the United Kingdom, the export from those countries, of trophies, of animal parts, which is all they are. It's revolting.
And if I can just probe into that a bit more, because so the Conservative manifesto sets out very clear proposals for a ban on imports of hunting trophies from endangered species. However, as we were hearing just a little bit earlier, opinion polls suggest that actually what the public want is a ban on trophies of all species. So what do you believe that the government should do?
I'm absolutely convinced that the government has the time, the opportunity to introduce a ban on trophies from all species now. Why not? Why should anybody really need a bit of a dead animal to prove something to themselves and their friends? We should be glorying in the live animals that are left and looking after them, whatever their species actually, and making sure that we share this earth with them in peace and harmony. And that's not a romantic bunny-hugging idea. That's how we ought to be looking after the world that we're going to live in for the future.
Well, we've had now the government public consultation on the ban on trophy imports and the various proposals ended in February. And DEFRA had originally said that it was going to publish a summary of the evidence within a few weeks of that and then set out its proposals shortly after. Now, of course, coronavirus has completely derailed government business across the board. But there are those who say that, and you kind of suggest this yourself, that banning imports can be done swiftly, easily. It's a vote winner. So in other words, it's a political no-brainer. So why doesn't the government, to misquote the Prime Minister, just get the ban done?
The pandemic is used for an excuse for not doing all sorts of things. Up to a point, of course. That excuse is justified. Government has had one or two other things on its mind, but nevertheless, we seem to be spending an enormous amount of time worrying about today's world without looking ahead and saying, yes, that's important, but we must also spend a lot of time and effort, if it's necessary, looking after tomorrow's world. And actually, to ban trophy hunting, to ban the import of trophies into the United Kingdom, can almost be done at the stroke of a pen. It doesn't require a massive bill to do it. It requires the political will and the determination and the decision. And I see absolutely no reason why this government cannot do that tomorrow.
Well, my last question then is, let's assume that Boris Johnson is watching this, and it's certainly possible that some of his advisors are. So what would your advice be to him right now? What's your message to number 10?
Well, Carrie Simons, who I think Mr. Johnson has a fairly close relationship with, is a patron of the Conservative Animal Welfare Foundation, and we're very proud that she is. And we know that Carrie has used her endeavours to persuade Boris that we need to get on with this. And I hope and expect that she will be successful. We do need to get on with it. I said in an earlier answer tomorrow, well, actually tomorrow is almost too late. We need to do it today.
Sir Roger Gale, Conservative Member of Parliament for North Thanet. Thank you very much. Well, that's the end of this webinar. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd like to